Welcome, social media friends. Whether you are local to me this morning, this Thursday morning, or local to my guest, um, bottom line, it doesn't matter because between my special guest today, who's going to be showing up into our studio, in a way, we've got every time zone covered across the 50 states of the US. So, with all of that said, let me now address those of you who are watching today's episode either as a live stream or like most things in life today, if you're watching this on demand as a recording when time permits and allows you to do so. So with that, let me now share with some of you, maybe all of you, who is this episode for? Who am I kind of communicating with? It is all of you who may be forever renters. Nothing wrong with that. I think between myself and my guests, we'll probably share with you our personal stories. It is also for our partners in the business. And those would be our real estate brokers who, like us, are excited, invested in the journeys of our clients when they absolutely need us to show up to help them get to their next chapter. And then third, who else benefits from today's episode? What you're going to hear, what you're going to see, and what you're going to feel. It is my parents, maybe your parents. They are the baby boomer parents who are downsizing their big home, going somewhere else, and they are most likely concerned about the adult children who may be living with them, and they're scratching their head like, John, Jane, what are you going to do? So with all of that said, let me set the tone for what we're going to talk about today. Many of us during our lives face this decision, and that is, which path do we go down first? Is it, renting something, or is it just, let's dive in, let's own something? And of course, the next thing that right now is very common as a talking point in media is, do you do it now? Do you buy now if you're going to buy, or do you wait? Do you buy later? Right? It's a difficult question. I think that for many of us, only you can answer. So with that said, let me now welcome my special guest, my family work peer, fearless leader, Matt Riener, into the virtual studio. But before I do that, I got to warm him up. Why? Because it's early morning for both of us. So I'm going to ask his posse, his fan base, to give him a rip-roaring welcome. Here we go. All right, Matt, your fans are calling out to you. And so with that, let's bring Matt into the conversation. Matt, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning. Good to see you, William.
Yeah, good early morning for
early
you.
here. Yeah, it's just after 8 a.m. here. I'm up in the Northwest, so a little earlier than you.
So unlike maybe the rest of us, maybe you're not hit by the freezing, frigid temps and all of the snow that's blanketed the south and the southeast, right?
No snow yet. Very little snow this time of year, but it was like about 15 degrees last night. So we do get quite a bit of cold up here. It's been down single digits a few times this year. Yeah, it's a little bit of cold, but not a lot of snow yet.
Yeah. Same for us. We've kind of escaped the typical snow that we get here in Chi-Town in Chicago Metro. We've moved some of that to my brothers and sisters down south.
Yeah. Midwest is getting it. Yep.
So thank you for showing up in today's episode of Selling That House. Audience members, my reason for asking Matt to show up today is to talk about, share with all of you, the audience that I kind of bookmarked earlier, share with all of you a very unique solution that our organization has architected and is implementing. So with that, this solution, by the way, is called, we love to give it a name, right? It's easy, easy to roll off the tongue. It's called Home Buyer Ally. So with that, Matt, talk to me first about why does our organization offer this solution?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we wanted to find a solution for people that wanted to buy now, but maybe could not qualify for traditional financing. So whether that be a credit issue, maybe a self-employment income issue, we saw some gaps in the market, especially after COVID, of people that maybe ran into some issues due to COVID that couldn't buy, but were in the market to buy and wanted to. That's why we created Home Buyer Ally.
So what I think I'm hearing, Matt, is not only for those reasons, but also it seems like for a growing demographics of consumers where there is some type of change. For example, a change in how they earn their income. This
Correct.
happens right now a lot, which is we've got John Doe, who is a professional within corporate America. John Doe has decided to, hey, you know what? I want to go after my own destiny. I want to control my own outcome. Corporate CEO, I don't need to be on your W-2 payroll anymore. I want to drive my own business. I want to be a consultant for your company. And so you're telling me this solution is to enable John Doe to do what he wants to do as well.
Correct. The standard for somebody moving into that dream job, that self-employment, we're typically looking at least 2 years of provable income, and sometimes more. Your first couple of years when you start up, you may not show enough income on paper. This program helps with that as well. So yes, if somebody's moving from a W-2 job, maybe to full commission, same company, or maybe they want to go 1099 and private contract, like you said, or maybe they decide to open their own company and become the boss and the owner. We do have a solution with Home Buyer Ally for those people that have moved into a new kind of pay.
Yeah. What about the other lifestyle events? So let me share with you one. And by the way, this is not meant to be frowning upon this life event. It's the reality. It happens.
Yeah.
What about households that are making a change? They're separating, they're divorcing, and you've got one spouse that has been a stay-at-home parent for a long time. And so all of a sudden, the change, right? The change is, hey, I don't have earned income from employment. Can this satisfy maybe that clientele as well?
It can, depending on their income source, depending on what the income's going to be. We may look at something as recent as I've only been on this new job for 3 months, or I've only opened this business for the last 3 to 6 months. So definitely we're going to shorten that time frame on the usable income source. Now they do have to have some kind of income coming in.
Right.
We still establish a debt to income ratio, but we are a little bit more lenient on this program as far as the income source that we could use. Because again, Home Buyer Ally is kind of in between that renting and owning. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so with that, for those of you watching this episode who may be trusted advisors to your clients who are facing a lifestyle or a life event change, and they might just have to face the reality of, yes, I need to be here. I don't necessarily need to own, but I need the commitment that I want to control my own destiny. This sounds like it's a possible solution for their clients as well, correct?
Correct. It is a possible solution. So
Okay.
Home Buyer Ally is going to open the door for all kinds of their clients that could not qualify. And that's really what we want to look at. I mean, we still are that full service lender. We're going to do everything. We just wanted one more product to maybe take the things that we had to turn down due to traditional financing rules and see if we could fit it into a box that maybe helped somebody get into a house and start growing their own equity.
Okay. So let me now shift the conversation to, we've already talked about the end client who will benefit from this unique solution. Talk to me about the others who would benefit from this solution. Who might they include? Would that be, for example, real estate brokers, attorneys, financial advisors?
You mean benefiting as far as for their clients?
For their clients, correct?
Yeah. For the real estate brokers, especially, when a real estate broker gets a little further in, they start to understand those rules for mortgage financing. And let's say they had a client that they would normally walk away from because they said, hey, I just opened my own business 6 months ago. I really want to buy a house. Your agent that's been in a while might understand, well, you need 2 years of self-employment before you can buy anything. They may discourage them and walk on. We want to get the word out there and let them know, like, hey, this program will help you with your turn downs. So whether that's newly self-employed, a recent bankruptcy, a recent foreclosure or life event, we don't want our agent partners walking away from those deals. We'd like to take a look at them to see if they fit within the Homebuyer Ally program. And all of those scenarios I just gave you, recent bankruptcy, recent foreclosure, recent self-employment, can benefit from that.
Okay, wonderful. So can you give us kind of the 10,000 foot level view of how does this work? Because I can only imagine our audience who is watching, listening to today's episode, they're probably kind of scratching their head like, tell us more.
Doesn't seem realistic, right? Too good to be
Right.
true. We hear quite a bit. So we have connected with a HUD business entity, and the HUD business entity will actually get an FHA loan as a business entity and purchase the house. So your participant, whether that's the newly self-employed or maybe they have challenged credit, whatever the event would be that kept them from traditional financing, will get pre-approved with Premier Mortgage to be basically a tenant. They're going to go into a rent-to-own program. The HUD entity will purchase the home that they select, as long as it qualifies for FHA financing, and they get up to 40 years in most states to get their financing in order to where they can qualify for traditional financing, and then assume the loan that's there or buy the house from that HUD entity. So as they go forward, they're making the full payments. They're responsible for all improvements to the home. For all intents and purposes, it will be their house. And there will be a recorded home buyer agreement on title that shows that as well. But at some point, they are going to have to purchase the home. And the reason we can be a little bit more lenient as far as the rules go for income and credit is because we're not approving them for traditional financing. We're approving them to be a good tenant, if that makes sense.
That's right. To be a good tenant, and as I've heard you share with me, to be a participant in this unique solution, Home Buyer Ally, that we are putting in front of them.
And you're growing your equity.
Yeah.
So the participant, when they enter into this program, they have all rights to appreciation, which means as the house goes up, so does their equity position. So the HUD entity will not increase the price as they go on. It doesn't matter if it's 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years down the line. When they go to purchase that home or assume that loan that's in place, they have rights to all appreciation to the home. So we're going to allow them to start building equity now, rather than waiting 1 or 2 or 3 years to get into the house and start building equity then. We think it's better to get in now, start building that equity now, before prices go up.
Yeah. And so, Matt, as we wrap up, let me ask you a question. How long did you rent in your personal journey before you owned real estate?
I owned fairly young. I was 21 years old when I bought my first house. So I did rent for about 3-4 years. I saw the value in owning a home. So I bought my first condo in downtown Spokane, Washington when I was about 21. And I've owned 6 or 7 homes since then. And I can honestly say every single house that I bought, I've made money on. I haven't lost money on any houses, even through the 2007, 2008 crash. Still made money on my homes as I bought them and improved them and made the payments.
Yeah. My journey is somewhat similar to yours. I bought my first home after a few years after finishing school.
Yeah.
So unlike, I don't know, unlike many of my peers, I jumped on it early, never regretted it. And fast forward to now, beyond owning real estate, you know, we're also an active landlord. So why do I bring that up? So audience members, especially in Chi-Town, Chicago Metro, I know this for a fact. I don't know if it's happening close to where you are. So audience members, if you are thinking, hey, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to buy. I love being a forever renter. I get that. We've all been there. But the reality is this right now in the marketplace, because of the supply and demand issue, landlords like me can be somewhat picky as to which tenant I want to commit to. So how do we go about that? Sometimes what we'll do is we'll look for a tenant that has rock star credit. We'll look for a tenant that will and must show us that you've got income that's 2.5, 3 times what I'm willing to rent the subject property to you at. So if you're thinking about this, it's creating some obstacles for you who may be a forever renter. So, as we wrap up today's episode of Selling That House, I want to simply thank my peer, Matt Riener, for joining me today to share this unique solution with all of you. So, as you're thinking about this, you're digesting this information, you're maybe wondering, hey, I want to learn more. What's the next step? It's really easy. All you need to do is simply scan this QR code, and Matt and myself are ready and willing to start that conversation with you to lead you through your journey to your next chapter. So, as we wrap up, let me ask my music posse to play us out. All of you have a great Thursday until I see you in the next episode of Selling That House.